There's been a lot of criticism about Keir that he doesn't seem to have like a vision of what this country should be. For you, do you think that the Labour Party needs a change in ideological direction?
I think there are things that... So I'm in the Labour Party because I believe in equality, and I think that, I appreciate that the Labour Party at the moment's biggest priority is growth, and I kind of think, well, yeah, we need to have growth, but we need to have growth in order to make our society fairer and more equal. So I kind of have the end. So I just like I have a kind of an end to that sentence, which is otherwise it's too short. So I don't disagree with growth. I just think we shouldn't take our eye off the importance of equality. We're nervy because of the polls, obviously, and a concern about how well particularly reform is doing, and what our response to that ought to be. And it will always happen. I mean, politicians will tell you we don't pay any attention to the polls. We pay attention to the polls. And so there is a nervousness, around. And we have elections in May, which are very serious, and we've got to make sure that we do well. But obviously, in the end, the most serious election will be the general election, and we absolutely cannot pass our country over to reform. So,
I mean, there does seem, there's obviously like a lot of anger. Like we spent yesterday talking to people in Liverpool, and there was this real sense of things being really quite bleak, and that Labour had promised change, and 14 months later, people's lives were perhaps a little bit worse. I mean, what's your answer to people who really thought that this government was going to make a difference to their lives and feel extremely let down?
So I think there's something in what you say, but I think that you put it too high. I don't think that people's lives are worse. I think actually people's lives are better, but they're not enough. They're not better enough. And I don't think in 14 months you can fix 14 years. I know people think a lot of the Labour Party and expect a Labour government to be able to achieve a great deal, and we'd certainly want to, but we do need a bit more time. And I think a lot of the things that like Keir was talking today in his speech, that a lot of the things that need to be fixed are not just superficial things. These are things that have been complacently not dealt with, for decades, and we need to be able to fix those. So, the planning system, people of your age, find it almost impossible to be able to get anywhere to live, which is in any way affordable. The only way to fix that is to build more homes. And so we have to change the planning system, because people can always think of 1,000,001 reasons why they shouldn't be building homes near them. I agree with building homes, just not here. We have to stop that. We have to just build them. So, doing things like that has been really important. We have changed people's lives in that, there are so many more appointments now in the National Health Service, so it is much easier. Still not good enough, but it is much easier to get a hospital appointment now.
Yeah, but there's still people who are waiting hours and hours in A&E or being treated in corridors, and there's still so many stories of people having exceptionally...
I'm not telling you it's fixed. I'm telling you that we're getting there. Do you know what I mean? We're getting there, but it's so profoundly broken. We've got the highest tax system we've ever had. We've got the highest debt that we've ever had. We've got public services on their knees. In 14 months, that's not all going to get fixed.
But then, do you think the reason why Labour is so currently quite deeply unpopular is because people had too high expectations of what this government was going to achieve?
I think there's a little bit of measuring us differently to other political parties. So they kind of expect the Tories to be useless, but they don't expect us to be, which is good, because we're not. But I think what we're not good enough at is explaining what our plan is. So here we are, we're here, and we've got to get over here. How are we going to do it? We need to explain what the plan is, how it's going to work, how it's going to be difficult, how some of the things we're going to have to do people aren't going to like, but we will get here, and this is where everybody wants to be. So it's just that sort of stuff we're not very good at.
Obviously, there's been a big focus on what Keir Starmer was saying is, when we next go to the polls, Farage and Reform are a huge threat. And obviously in Islington, over the summer, the Asylum hotels have been a big flashpoint of anger, and Islington is very proud of its identity as a borough of sanctuary, and that it's welcoming to refugees and to migrants. But for you, who I assume have that opinion, and then you hear some members of your government, speaking, using language that lots of people would say really demonises and scapegoats the most vulnerable. How does that make you feel? Does that sit well with you?
I'm not sure. Again, I accept your characterisation. I mean, sometimes people talk about it in a different way to the way I would. I think that from my background and from my constituency, I learn that we are a better place because we have people from all over the world. We're a better community because we get on, because we don't put divisions out between one another. And actually, when you heard Keir today, that was what he was saying too.
But at the same time, I mean, that hotel has been closed now in Islington, and we've been reporting and telling the stories of the guys inside it for months, and they are absolutely terrified of being sent to military bases. These guys who have suffered persecution, who have like experienced war. I mean, is that, are we treating them with dignity if we're sending them to live on military bases?
We've had 2 asylum hotels in the constituency, and we've done everything that we can to make it clear that they're welcomed. I've seen a lot of them myself as well, and have been helping them with their immigration issues, and I hope that I have been as good an MP for them as I would be for anybody. I think that given that the Shadow Home Secretary stood outside that particular hotel and videoed himself and identified himself as being outside that hotel and made all kinds of complaints about it, and then the Sun turned up and was plastering it all over the place, it became a flashpoint. It wasn't until that point. I didn't discuss openly where the asylum hotels were, and it kind of wasn't really an issue. So, but I think it is now. I mean, you've heard what happened. You heard about the fire. It's not safe there now, I'm afraid.
But is it right under your government's policy to house asylum seekers in military barracks?
I think what's right is that we have an asylum policy that deals with people quickly and efficiently and fairly. And if they have a right to stay, then they need to be accommodated, brought into our communities, assimilated. And if they don't have a right, they should be sent back, and we should do it quickly. That's kind of where our policy ought to start. And again, when we were first elected, there was this massive, reckless backlog of people where the government had not made any decisions at all on them. They would come and see me. They would say, I've been sitting in this hotel for 2 years. Nobody's making a decision. What are we going to do about it? What can you do about it? And I had to say, I can't do anything about it because this government won't make a decision. Whereas we are now making the decisions. We are trying to sort it out. So, it just seems like it's one of those situations where things are not ideal, very far from ideal, but efforts are being made to try to fix it.
But it just seems like a lot of the language is, talking about, these illegal immigrants and, we have to stop the boats. And isn't that just Labour trying to reform?
I mean, I'll take a bit of a lawyer's view on this. I don't think it's illegal to come into this country and claim asylum. So that's not by itself illegal. I think we should stop the boats. I think we should. I think we've got to smash the gangs, and I think that it is not the way to do things. Is to get onto a blow-up dinghy and try and get across the channel and be exploited by gangs who are taking huge amounts of money and people drowning. It's just not the way. That is out of control. So we do need to do something about that. But if someone comes to my country and claims asylum because they have been persecuted, then they are welcome.
But do you feel like that narrative's been lost? Like that doesn't seem to have been sort of come through or been articulated in that way?
Well, I don't know. As I say, if you heard Keir's speech today, I think that he made it pretty clear that we are not aping Farage, that we have our own way of saying these things. And, he did say we shouldn't have borders that are out of control. And I agree with him. We should have some control of our borders. That's not unreasonable. But again, he said, but if you need asylum in our country, then you're welcome. I've just said the same thing. Actually, it is the same.
And obviously, whilst the government is very concerned about the threat from the right, we're seeing the emergence of new parties to the left, and your constituency neighbour Jeremy is obviously in the process of setting up his party.
In a way.
What do you think about
It's a bit chaotic, isn't it? I don't really know. I'm not quite sure who the leader is, and I'm not sure who the members are, and I don't know what the name is, but, they are having a go. But, you do wonder if they can't even set up a party, then how are they going to run the country? Sorry.
Do you think it's a bit laughable?
I'm afraid I'm laughing. But, I do think it's a bit chaotic. Come on.
Do you think it's the wrong decision?
No. Let them. Obviously anyone can can put together a political party, but maybe it would be more impressive if they were a bit better organised.
Have you spoken to Jeremy about it at all?
I haven't spoken to Jeremy about that.